campus with Coach Kelly from Cherokee County. Each and every week we're going to be doing a coach's show with him. It's brought to you by Gadsden Golf Carts. If you're in need of a golf cart and you live in North Alabama or anywhere in Alabama, you go see those guys right there on 411 in North Gadsden as you're heading in downtown Gadsden. Coach Kelly, it's good to catch up with you as always. You know, last year you guys had a historical run right here at Cherokee County, made it all the way to the state championship game. I really think you guys left it all on the field, and that's fantastic. I know that's not the ultimate goal for you, though, my man. And you're, this offseason, you've proven that. You've set the bar a little bit higher for these guys. But before we dive into this week and last week's jamboree, let's just reflect a little bit last year's game, last year's championship run. You made it all the way to the state championship game. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, I mean, it was. I feel like we were clicking at the right time. You know, we played pretty, solid each week in the playoffs. You know, we faced a little bit of adversity, in the games, especially the second round game against Westmoreland. They're a really good football team. It was 7-6 them at the halftime. We showed a lot of resiliency coming back out and kind of just winning the second half. I don't know what the final ended up being, but we did what we needed to do and started clicking and playing. Playing our brand of football and playing better. Westmoreland's a good football team. I think they're a team that's going to do really well this year. They've got a lot of coming back. Coach Phillips does a great job with those guys. But we each week I felt like we did a little bit better just playing the scheme that we were putting in. And the guys were doing their job, and we were executing and being physical, and that's kind of what we want to be, is a physical football team that's going to get after you, but know your job, execute your job, and do your job. And, all the way up, we had a great week in the fourth round game going into Aniana. Early on, it was really, really kind of a dog fight, and then we were able to kind of pull away from it in the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter, and just, 4 years kind of working with those seniors and just developing the team and the aspects of it and the culture of it kind of all came together that night, and it was a really, really good night for Cherokee County and the Warriors and just everybody in this locker room and the coaches and the community and everything like that. And then, you go to the state title game, it was a new experience for a lot, but when it all comes down to ball and the game, we didn't do the things that got us to that game. We got manhandled a little bit, and Lou's a great football team. And so we just didn't execute. I thought we lost the lines of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. And, if you break it down into three phases, I feel like we didn't win any phase of the game. And usually, Jack Crow used to say, you got three phases in the game, you win 2 out of 3, you got a good chance of winning. When you don't win any offense, defense, or special team phases of the game, you're in trouble. And so we played extremely hard. The moment might have been too big for some of us, but a lot of those guys we got coming back. They've had that experience. They know what it takes, and they know what it takes if you're fortunate enough to get there, what you have to do to come out on top. And off season. The guys, I can't say enough about the work that they've put in, how they've pushed themselves, how much stronger they've gotten, and continually they're pushing the pace. We're right in here week 1 or game 1, week 0 for us, and we're on a max week right now. We broke a lot of squat maxes yesterday. I anticipate us doing the same thing on bench. We don't really take weeks off. We have a set program and program standards, and part of it's in the weight room, and then the other part's how we practice and prepare. And so, I think all the things are lining up. We just got to be a little bit more consistent. We got to have a little bit more leadership out of the guys that, had that experience last year, but, there's no longer Kate Hopper and Jack Amos and Malachi Horton and Dalton Chestnut. Those guys to be the vocal guys of, okay, we're not practicing the way we're supposed to practice, or we're not lifting the way we're supposed to lift. And so, like right now, we're kind of still looking for those people to step up and take over. Because Coach Kelly can't be out on the field on Fridays. Coach Henderson can't be out on the field on Fridays. As much as we like to go out to the numbers, the refs won't let us actually be in the huddle. you know,
But
and they do a good job.
Too, though, now, Coach.
Yeah, that's right. I'll scout quarterback for the last 4 weeks, but, you know, it's just you want player-led teams. Those are the ones that excel the most, and you know, the player-led teams and the leadership of those guys, when the coaches are not around, tend to be the more special bunch that you're going to have because they're going to take ownership and accountability and do their job. And if somebody's not doing their job, especially on Fridays when the coaches are not out there, it's those type of players and those type of teams that are going to excel because they're not, even if they're put in adverse situations, they're going to have the leadership of the players to know how to get them out.
That's right. Coach, you couldn't have scripted a better jamboree opponent last week. You know, you played Scottsboro and Coach Bell, and you know his teams are traditionally, you know, run first guys, triple option. They play tough, gritty defense. The reason I'm saying that is you turn right back around. You play another team that runs the football first, plays gritty defense. A lot of pride in the town, and Alexandria coming up with Coach Todd again. Talk about a little bit about last week's opponent and what went into scheduling that game to get a good look like that right here on the eve of the game with Alexandria.
So really both the scrimmage and the game kind of stem from Georgia and Alabama being on different football schedules. You know, Alabama has a certain way they do things. I'm from Georgia, so I'm familiar with a lot of the coaches, and sometimes scheduling is just easier to reach out to those guys if they have dates open. So Coach Patrick and Coach Honeycutt at Model and Trine, that's who we kind of had been doing scrimmages and games with in the past couple of years. And so when the Super 7 dates are set based off the first Monday in August, and I wasn't the only school to find this out. There was Gadsden City had to cancel. You know, there were teams all over the state that had to cancel when they had Georgia games these first couple of weeks. And, you know, it is what it is. I should have known and did my research before scheduling those Georgia games because obviously we're not in the same associations, we're not in the same states, but, you know, because our week moved back a week, theirs stayed the same. They don't always go with the start of the first Monday. We lost a scrimmage with Trine and a game with Model. And so we were fortunate enough to get two game opponents, two communities that are traditionally really good in football, Alexandria and Scottsboro, and two really good coaches, and Coach Ginn and Coach Bell. And so they are both kind of running offenses, hard-nosed defense. They're going to get after you. A little bit different styles. They do what they do, but, you know, Alexandria runs the ball their way. You know, they're traditional, a little bit more wing tee, gun tee, under center wing tee. You know, stuff like that. Whereas Scottsboro is a triple option team. They specialize in the veers, the midlines, the outside rocket tosses, and different stuff. Just formation, letting you line up, see what your alignment is, and then where they want to attack and who they want to attack by personnel, their personnel versus your personnel. And Coach Bell does a great job of like just getting those guys lined up, having the, you know, just the calmness of the quarterback, and he's a really good player. Just to sit there, line up, and then take what's given. And, you know, it's almost like he's Coach Bell on the field because that's who's calling the plays more or less. They got, you know, inside veer, you call us. And so they'll line up, he knows what to do. And so it was really tough to defend because they were well coached. And then defensively, you know, Scottsboro is more of an even front team, you know, 4-2-5. They do a little bit of 4-3 and two high safeties, and Alexandria's more movement. You know, they can play a 3-3 stack. They can get in kind of some even fronts and just a lot of movement, a lot of slanting and different stuff, you know. But one thing with both of those teams is attack. They're going to attack you. You can get after them, but they are going to get after you. There's no mistake.
Yeah.
There's no mystique about it. Like when you line up against Alexandria, you line up against Scottsboro, they're going to hit you in the mouth. And it's completely up to you on how you take that. But you're going to be in a fight.
What did you learn from your guys after such a tough jamboree opponent? And another factor, it wasn't as hot as it has been that night, but it was still pretty warm. What did you learn about these guys?
Well, I mean,
guys?
As far as the heat and the acclimation and stuff like that, we've been going through the summer in the mornings and in the afternoons. We didn't have any cramps. We came out relatively healthy, a little bang and bruises, but absolutely nothing severe. Yeah, we're healthy. But my thing is we didn't cramp. We didn't have any cramp issues. So feel like our hydration, our conditioning is where it needed to be for that one. Now, it's not a 48-minute game.
Yeah.
It was more or less a little bit between the 24 and more game because we started, subbing a little bit in the third. So we'll see if we're ready for 48 minutes. And then, but relatively healthy conditioning and stuff like that was good. So I was pleased with it. And then what we learned is, they put us in adversity. We're sitting there in the third quarter. I guess if you could say, if the scoreboard's on, I mean, people were watching. So it was right there in the third. It was 14-9. We were up. They had a chance to go down there and score and take the lead. I didn't like the fact, from an offense standpoint, we probably could have run the clock out and ended the varsity period. We just didn't get it done, and then we made a lot of penalties, whether it was in the B team portion in the fourth. But prior to that, we had way too many penalties, way too many self-inflicted stuff that can get you beat. And so we tried to correct that after practice yesterday with a little motivational. Don't get Cherokee County beat. Period.
I know what that equals out.
Yeah, I mean, but the guys know. I mean, it's just sometimes the external factors when it's really hot. It's about how tough is your mind to do your job the way it's coached to be done, and not necessarily use less technique and just take the easy way out, because officials, they're going to do their job too. And if we have so many variables. I'll say this: Brent Hill and all the guys that help us out with the film stuff and the setup. We got 4 different angles. It just makes it so much better to coach. You cannot hide. And so, that was some things that we learned, and hopefully we corrected.
Got a 2-part offensive question to ask you. You got, from what I've seen, you got 2 capable quarterbacks this year, both named Carson. Both guys can play, and both guys did play the other day, maybe not as much as they should have or whatever, You're still going through that. But you also started Tay at tailback. What was the going behind that decision, or was Cornejo maybe a little banged up or something, or what went into that?
No, I mean, I'll say this. Cornejo did get a little banged up from the week before, but he was full go. If it was a full game, he'd have been good to go.
Gotcha.
Jacob's the kind of kid that Tay and Keyshawn got all the reps in practice.
Gotcha.
So he basically told those guys, y'all practice it, y'all get it.
That's good.
I mean, that's Cornejo.
What kind of kid he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so he could have went. He did some good things. He had some good runs. But Tay has had a great offseason because so when we go through the offseason, every player has certain things that I want them to focus in on. Right. Individual stuff gotcha. Because I'm around him every single day. And so Tay's thing was he needed to lose a little bit of weight and get himself in a little bit better conditioning, so he could go a little bit more running back and be faster. And he did exactly that. He dropped about 15 pounds, and he's moving better. He's in better conditioning. He's making all his times in the conditioning. He's strong as crap in the weight room. I mean, he's well over 315 on bench. He's in between 315 330, depending on what his mindset level is on the power cleans, and he did 555 on squats yesterday. So we're talking about a lot of weight.
He was up for 4A lineman of the year too, correct?
Yes, he was. He was in the top 3 on that. And so he's had a great off season. He ran the ball extremely well. The other day, we just got to tune some things up. It was good to go against somebody else that was worthy. I mean, they were game. Scottsboro's a good football team. They put us in some difficult situations. They played extremely hard. But when we did our job and executed blocking stuff, Tay, Keyshawn, and Jacob, I mean, we got 3 guys right there that can handle it. And then you talk about the quarterback situation. Carson Tittle, to the majority of the stats, I think Carson Chestnut only got 1 meaningful snap. Yeah. And he almost took to the house, on a little quarterback counter run.
Good athlete.
And like I said, he is as dynamic a player as you can get. His thing is just learning the new system. Once he learns the new system and things start to fall into place, he can be as confident and dangerous as they can be. But on the flip side of that, Carson Tittle knows exactly what's going on. He knows exactly what's going, like what I want, where I want it, who's moving, like, you know, little mannerisms. Like Cade was top kid that he could look at me and I could do certain things or say things or try to whistle and do a signal or whatever. And heck, I might not even know if I'm looking at it, but he knew exactly what I was talking about. And then if it didn't work, it was on me because it was bad play, right? But Carson Tittle knows everything. He's been in the system for over a year, and he's confident, and he gets people lined up, and so
it's good lineage.
It is, and
smart family.
He can put the ball. He should have had a touchdown the night it was dropped. I mean, he put it right on the dime, and stayed in the pocket, ran the ball well. You know, and so you got two guys that can do it right there, and they're very dynamic, and so I'm pleased with.
It's better to have two than none.
That is correct. That is correct. It's a good problem to have, and I mean, we expect both those guys to have meaningful snaps and do good things for us this year.
Well, let me ask you one other question or so, and then we'll get out of here because I know you got stuff to do today as well. We'll be back again next week, obviously. Defensively, who's some of the guys that really showed you something? Because, let's be honest, that's not the easiest offense to stop.
It is, and I do think it affected kind of like the school board stats. Yeah. But, you know, I thought Cooper Rogers did a great job. I mean, he was the guy that played a lot last year, but he was kind of the third man in the safety secondary group because you had Jack and you had Jeff Crane and you had Malachi and you had a bunch of other guys there. And so Cooper was one of those guys that kind of rolled in there and played a lot if the injury went down, or Jack was, you know, on an IV drip over there for just going nuts.
Yeah.
You know, Iron Man had to go get his iron fix, and so Cooper had to roll in there and get some stuff. He had a big pick in the red zone the other night and had a couple pass breakups.
That was him who got the little dump pass?
It is.
Okay, yes.
It is. And you know, we had kind of, not to say necessarily seen that, but we knew their veer passes are really quick, right? It's going to look the same as the runs, but it's going to be really quick, and a lot of times it's right there in front in the zones. They're trying to kind of catch that safety coming up to play the pitch. They're going to try to hit it right behind it, and Cooper did a great job of just forcing that turnover, and you know, he also plays little receiver, so I thought he did a good job. I mean, Tay was Tay. Obviously, I think Tay is really good when he's, you know, coming off the edge, rushing that quarterback, but you know, that's not necessarily what they want to do, is stay in the pocket, drop back and pass. So Tay playing that run was a little different for him, but overall I think he did a decent job on you know, squeezing that dive down. Tristan, you know, he's wide open off the edge right there. He had a lot of big hits, and you know, it was a lot of things that can be fixed, but that type of offense, man, they're going to put you in some binds one way or the other.
Can't close it out without mentioning the third phase, which we talked about 3 phases earlier, special teams. I know it wasn't live, so to speak. I mean, some of the stuff wasn't, but what did you see from your special teams?
Well, we had 11 guys out there most of the time, so that's always good. But,
that's a start,
you know, coach. I guess, you know, when it's not live, make sure you do have 11s out there. But we've got a lot of the same skill guys in the return game, whether it's punt return, kickoff return. I think we can do. We've got some weapons back there that can set us up good with field position. Ben Frampton is one of our receivers. He's taking over the place kicking duties, field goals, and kickoffs. And then our right guard, Blake Butts, is our punter, and he can boom it now. He is. The form may not be exactly right, but the ball is screaming off of his foot. You know. He puts a hurt on it, and he's good. He's got good hang time when he gets a hold of it, and he gives us a good chance of flipping the field, set our defense up in some good positions. And so James Hunter's been really solid on long snapping and short snapping, and that's a big forgotten aspect of the game is how good your snapper. And you know, we lost our snapper from last year. James Hunter's done a great job of filling those roles, and so we'll get a better picture this Friday when everything's live and full go. But those guys have done a good job last couple of months since we started implementing the special teams in it too.
Coach, I don't want to put the cart ahead of the horse, but if you got an offensive lineman back there punting, there has to be a fake. from somewhere.
Well, if he can get downhill, I'm telling you, Blake Butts might be top 5 on. If we still had the punt, pass, kick competition, I guarantee you Blake Butts would be our representative, him and Jacob, because he can throw it just about as far as anybody we got on the team.
Really?
I've seen him, if we had a swinging gate, I've seen him underhand toss a dime, like right on the money. And so he's crazy skilled with the football.
There's people going to be, there's some of your opponents this year watching this going, all right.
Blake Butts.
I'm circling this guy.
He's our punter. He's our punter. He can kick off too, but where it's going to go, like I said, he's Thunderfoot now. It might go over there. It might go over there.
So he's like Rick Vaughn.
Yeah, it's just it's wild thing.
That's it. I love it. Well, Coach, we're going to shut this one down. We're going to be back each and every week, and it's brought to you by Gadsden Golf Carts, obviously. And Coach, it's been an honor. Good to get back to Cherokee County. We'll be seeing you each week this season.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all.